Hello again, everybody, and welcome to Orange First, right here on Denver 7, the Denver Channel, and the Denver 7 app. Every week we're here talking about what the Broncos did in the previous game, and we're looking ahead to the next game. Orange First, right here on Denver 7. The first order of business, of course, is to introduce our esteemed panel of guests. Actually, they're Denver 7 employees. But anyway, our Denver 7 Broncos insider Troy Rant is here. Looking good. And Woody Page with us as well. And Woody, that shirt is absolutely glorious.
I was trying to match Troy.
All right, guys. Well, let's start off Orange First with our game rewind. Broncos beat the Panthers 21-20 on a Thursday night NFL kickoff. It was a great scene at Sports Authority Field at Mile High. Peyton Manning started things off with a Lombardi Trophy. Trevor Siemian ended things, carrying the game ball off the field. So let's rewind and look back. Troy, what's your best takeaway from game one?
The fact that they didn't play well and won.
Yeah.
They turned the ball over 3 times inside Carolina's 30-yard line, Lionel, and they win a game? I mean, I thought if they had more than one turnover, they lose. So we'll talk more. Obviously, the quarterback issue this is a quarterback-centric issue team right now. But the fact that they didn't play well and beat the defending NFC champs, that was my takeaway, Woody. They have a lot of room for improvement, but still snuck a game out.
I was asked if I was pleasantly surprised. It was a pleasant night, even though the first half was not very good for the Broncos or anybody that was watching. And I was surprised because you're not talking about the Tampa Bay Bucks, even though they played well last week. You're talking about the defending NFC champs. And people have to realize the Panthers have only lost 3 of their last 20 games, and 2 of them have been to the Broncos, and the Broncos are their orange and blue kryptonite, really.
Yeah, they are.
When you think
That's
about
fair.
it.
All right, rewind. My takeaway from game one, the running game and the offensive line. Guys, look, Schofield was in there at guard, did a very good job. Paradis, great game.
Beast at center.
C.J. Anderson came to play, both running the football. And we got a fullback, Janovich, who scored a touchdown and was pancaking linebackers the whole night. So my takeaway was running game and offensive line is going to be a lot better than last year. After game one, we can say that. And that's going to help Trevor Siemian in his development as we look forward.
And I want everybody to submit to us a nickname for the fullback.
Yeah.
He has a nickname.
Hammerhead, is that?
Hammerhead.
Oh, that
Jano?
sounds like a shark.
I'll take that. A shark? A land shark on the field?
Ooh.
Jano,
All right, so
Hammerhead.
Land
You
shark.
heard Woody. Submit some
Land
nicknames for the
shark.
kid.
I like it.
Land Shark.
All right, guys, let's move now to our quarterback update here on Orange First. Trevor Siemian, 178 yards. He had the 2 interceptions. At that point, I was like, this is not going to go well for him. 2 interceptions. He came back, threw a touchdown pass, and they overcame a 10-point deficit in the fourth quarter, Troy.
Yeah, I mean, to understand and put that in perspective, Lionel, and for our audience, the last quarterback to start his first game and overcome a 10-point fourth quarter deficit was Josh Freeman in 2009. Right. Not a guy you necessarily want to be associated with, but it does tell you how rare it was. He showed poise. Everything Gary Kubiak has said about him, that he's smart, he digests information, and that the moment's not too big, those were on display, Woody. Now, does he have room to grow? Of course he does. But you saw some things, and he had a couple first downs with his feet.
Sure.
I like that. He's way more mobile than people realize.
And he's more mobile than Brock Osweiler was when he took over last year.
Yeah.
He's got a stronger arm than Brock Osweiler. If you're making comparisons, and I think you've made a great point, don't compare him to Peyton Manning at his prime. Don't compare him to Tom Brady. Compare him to Brian Griese, who started his first game after John Elway retired. Compare him to young quarterbacks. So what do you do when you compare him? You find that the guy was calm, he was under control, he made mistakes, he came back and did a great job late in the third quarter and into the fourth quarter and won a game. As you pointed out, I think that's the most important. He didn't look like a rookie. Even though he's in his second year, I'm calling him a rookie. It's like baseball comparisons, that you can come up in your rookie year and not really be considered a rookie till your second year.
Yeah, Gary Kubiak said it on Monday. He watched the film, was impressed that Trevor Siemian didn't let the 10-point deficit get to him. He said a lot of quarterbacks down by 10 points, that'll bother you. It didn't bother Trevor, and they came back with Chris Harris Jr.'s interception, and they won the football game.
I think, though, the one issue that we have to look forward to in regard to the next game is whether or not he's going to go deep more often than he did. The one time that he really went deep, it was intercepted, And then he was relying more, I think he and Kubiak and Greg Knapp were saying, let's dial it in.
Yeah.
Let's reel it
Short
back.
stuff underneath.
I want to see him go down the field against a porous defense in the defensive backfield. They're getting a couple of guys back. We'll talk about that later.
Exactly. Let's talk about it right now. Let's do our injury update now here on Orange First. Obviously, Demaryius Thomas hurt his hip in the game. And the good news is we found out it's not as serious as it may have been first reported. And he was getting a second opinion and may miss weeks. But that's not going to happen. Hopefully he's back at practice. And they expect him to play on Sunday.
If he practices Wednesday, as the expectation, as you're watching this, if he practices during the week, the chances he plays go up dramatically. He walked around in the locker room in the first sight we've had of him since the game.
Right.
He told me he feels okay. You know, it's these injuries. It's day to day, but it clearly isn't something that's immediately knocking him out, Woody. And just as you mentioned, how they need to go downfield, that's hard to do if it's Fowler and Emmanuel Sanders, because Fowler himself hasn't played since the first preseason game, Lionel, when he broke his elbow.
Right.
So
he may be back this week too, though, right?
And Thomas blocked well in the run game. I know people don't want to hear that. I get it. If he's on your fantasy team, you don't get points for that. He had a good game.
Great block.
He had a good blocking game along with Jano and the offensive line.
Guys in America, I would say this. Look, going into the season, you would say the deepest part of this team was wide receiver.
Yes.
Yeah, if you think about it, they lost a key member of the defensive line. They lost one of their key linebackers. They had one of their key defensive backs shot by somebody in the world. The offensive line was changed. You didn't know exactly what running back beyond C.J. Anderson. So when you think about the team, wide receiver, well, let's look what happened. You know, Bernie Fowler got hurt. You've had Norwood, who's been in and out of practice and was checked for concussion, and you have the situation with Demaryius Thomas. So suddenly a team that was so deep at wide receiver is a little more shallow now, so you hope that they pull that around over the next 3 weeks when they have a chance to get off 3-1, 4-0, and get that wide receiving core to help out a young Trevor Siemian.
Right, and they hope to have Fowler back, and then Tyson Brilo's also getting ready to play as well.
Tyson Brilo's elbow, he had a dislocated or hyperextended elbow, early in camp, basically missed all of camp.
Yeah.
He's now ready to compete. He currently is the swing tackle, backup guard, utility guy on game day, but Kubiak has now said he could challenge to start, but he said Michael Schofield has earned the job, and people killed me on Twitter, and I get it. He's better profiled as a guard. He looks better as a guard. He looks more comfortable, Woody. At tackle, he wasn't comfortable, and it was in his head. He did play way better in the playoffs than people give him credit for, but the one game against the Raiders was just seared in everyone's brain, Lionel. I think he has a chance to be a very serviceable right guard.
I think the most amazing thing that if people look at it is you go, well, he's a guard and he's a tackle. He can play some center. Well, we've seen last year, 2 years ago, let me go back 2 years ago, an all-pro guy was moved out to tackle. He didn't belong at tackle. He was a guard. Last year, we're moving people around, watching people be shifted in and out. You've got to find a place for the right place for right people. Schofield is a lot better off as a guard than he was as a tackle. He was miscast, if you will. So you got to find Garcia, like right tackle, moving to we had a tackle here in Denver 3 years ago that took over for Clady, was an outstanding left tackle. When he moved over to right tackle, he didn't belong here anymore. And
Chris
he's gone.
Clark, it's crazy.
All right, let's move to our AFC West wrap-up. After one game, all right, we got a three-way tie atop the AFC West. If the season ended today...
Season's over? I'm out of here.
All right, look, the Chiefs came back to beat the Chargers. The Chargers lost their top receiver. They're done.
Yeah.
To me, the Chargers are finished. They're not going to contend in this AFC West, even if they had him. Chiefs came back to win. Broncos win. Raiders come back to beat the defenseless Saints in the Superdome. Woody, what do we got? You wrote a great column for the Denver Channel. Check it out right now. AFC West after week one.
I disagree with you to a point. Phillip Rivers is still the best quarterback in the division.
No, he's
not. In the division.
He's not anymore.
Doesn't matter.
He's not.
To me.
He's not.
Carr?
It's going to be Carr, Alex Smith at the end of the season.
Game one. He's still the best quarterback, one of the top 10 in the league. So you get Boza maybe playing, maybe contributing. They've got some guys. Keenan went off the field and is going to have an ACL. So I don't think this team is as bad as it was last year. 4 victories. I think McCoy on the hottest seat in the NFL.
Yeah.
I don't know that he'll survive the season if you're right. But I think that team is going to be better at home. They did go in and give Kansas City a game and took it into overtime. So you're dismissing them. I'm not totally dismissing them. I thought the Raiders looked like, I hate to use this term, but they're kind of what we thought they might be. How's that for twisting an old term around?
Don't take a stand or anything.
I think they showed that the car, with that receiving core they have, with a defense that's going to emerge in this league, that this is a team that's going to be tough to beat for 2 games. You go back, and I said the Broncos had won 24 of 30 AFC West games. They need to finish 4-2. If they go 3-3 or 2-4, I think it's going to make it very difficult for them to beat out the Chiefs and even maybe the Raiders.
They're going to be fine. Here's why. Broncos have the best defense in the AFC West. As long as they have that, I go to my baseball days. If you can pitch, play defense, you're going to be better than the other teams. They have the best defense. The Chiefs have an issue early in the season. You need to beat them early because they get better as the season goes. The Raiders' defense, to me, was a shocking, alarming.
Yeah.
I know it was against your Saints.
Well, the
and
Saints
Drew
have a
Brees,
great offense.
but still, they couldn't stop them.
No.
I mean, that game was last team to have the ball. Basically, the Saints had it. But I would say this about the Chargers, Woody. They have no home field advantage anymore. The community has given up on them. The vote's going to fail there. No stadium. They don't want them in L.A. because they have the Rams now. They are going to have no – and when the Broncos play there, that is a home field game for the Broncos. So I do agree. I dismiss them. The Chiefs and Raiders, if they can just split with one of those two, let's say they sweep the Raiders, split with the Chiefs, they win the division. It's that easy.
Look, if the Broncos can be the number 1 defense, if Broncos are the number 1 defense in the NFL again, I know they gave up a lot of yards.
They're going to be top 5. I don't know if they'll be 1 again, but they'll be top 5.
The team with the best defense in this division will win it.
And Chiefs' defense is good, but their defense was, without Justin Houston,
well, I was going to say, he's going to come back in a few
point,
weeks.
We'll see, though. What version of him are we going to see?
All right, let's do a quick segment called Talking Dirty. Okay? How's that for you? Is the Broncos' defense dirty? They've been called that by a lot of people, a lot of fans of other teams, including the Panthers, say that the hits on Cam Newton were dirty.
Right.
Is this defense dirty? Or as they said on Monday in the locker room, we're not dirty, we're physical, and we play hard. And let the chips fall where they may.
Is the price of doing business when you want to change your reputation. They do cross the line. Are they the Raiders? Woody of the 70s? No, but they crossed the line. Brandon Marshall will get fined for his hit on Newton. Darian Stewart will get fined for his hit on Cam Newton. So, yeah, those that by law are illegal plays. And they led the NFL in those plays last year. I talked to a defensive back about this today, and I asked him, people are saying you're dirty. And he looked at me and said, they're saying that now? Didn't they watch us last year?
Good.
This is who we are.
Is that good?
They're not hiding from it, Lionel.
Yeah.
Do they cross the line sometimes, Woody?
Sure they do. But that's part of the reputation. You actually want, whether they're denying it or confirming it, that's a reputation that is okay because teams then get very scared of you. They're having to put 2 and 3 guys on Von Miller. They're afraid of him. So that leaves open some other gaps in the defense, gap defense. But here's another point that I think is interesting about that is that out of 70 plays that you play on defense, if there's 6 or 7 that cross over the line, I think that's an acceptable percentage. If they're committing 4 personal fouls in a game, I did watch the Raiders of the 70s. They would commit 8 or 9 personal foul penalties.
You can't do that now, though, because you get
That is not crossing the line. That's crossing the border.
Yeah, that's not good.
Look.
You can't do that because guys will start getting ejected. But what would you rather have, Lionel?
No,
you covered the Manning teams. What was their reputation? Finesse. They had more finesse than the shampoo. That's all. They're soft. You have a reputation. They're dirty. Wouldn't you rather have that? I'm not condoning it, but wouldn't you rather have that, Lionel?
You want receivers, running backs, and especially quarterbacks coming in saying, we're going to get hit hard today, and we're going to take some hit. And that's going to be in their heads.
I agree.
Andrew Luck knows it. He had his total insides blown up like
That's
a
what I'm
car
saying.
wreck.
Let's
last
lead
year.
to that. Don't you think that
So
that's going to be on his mind
Yes.
when they play? That's one of the, I believe, one of the keys to
Yes.
Indianapolis is he is not going to take off running after he saw what happened to him last year.
After he
and
felt
that
what happened
was
to him, yeah.
that was one of the most important pivotal plays in that entire game last year. Is he ran. And
huge
that's
first
the
down.
one he
and
got
the winner.
hurt. Yeah.
They did the high-low on him. They lacerated his kidney, for heaven's sake.
Tore his stomach muscle.
Never
It
played
was like
again.
the injury suffered in a train wreck. That's what the doctor said, or a car wreck. So look, I think that's one of the keys of the game as we look ahead to the Colts game now. Let's do that. Keys to the game for the Broncos to win this game. My opinion, and it's pretty much a key to every game in the NFL. Get to the quarterback, get in the quarterback's face, hit him as hard as you can early in the game, and you got him.
Pressure is key. They need to just keep running the ball. The Colts don't stop the run very well. Keep running the ball, and as you run the ball, that's going to open the spots downfield for Siemian. And as he connects a couple of those, now all of a sudden he's 20 for 27 for
Right.
260 yards. That's the next progression for
That's
me.
where I start, is that I mentioned to you guys in the last 2 or 3 days and again tonight that they're not throwing the ball down the field. If you run the ball effectively, now we see what we saw against Peyton Manning. They start to stuff the box. You bring a 7th guy.
Yeah.
You may even bring an 8th guy. That's when those plays are open, and you better take advantage of that. So that's number one to me. Number two, I'm not as concerned about getting to luck. I don't think that's a concern in regard to the overall game. He's a guy who stays under control himself. I think it's shutting down his wide receivers. I think that's more important than getting to him. I think it's shutting down the wide receivers with your defensive backs. And the third thing is I want to see Brandon Marshall in there is controversy surrounding him. Let's talk about the player. The player has got to take over for where Danny Trevathan was last year and continue to be one of the best linebackers in the conference. And I think that we should shift the attention to that.
Yeah, well, you've got Brandon Marshall and Todd Davis, the combination. They call each other, thunder and lightning, I think is what they said in the locker room this week. But they're developing a chemistry.
Submit some more.
yeah.
Don't get caught in the storm.
Marshall and Davis. Wait, let me see those guns again?
Look
wow.
at that. Jeez.
You need to go shirtless next week, Rank, and that would bring the
Cat
ratings up.
pistols.
Anyway, yeah, Brandon Marshall's the key to this game, and not because of kneeling down during the national anthem and meeting with the Denver police chief and advocating for social change. What's going to happen is, and he said it on Monday, he goes, I'm not talking about this anymore starting Wednesday. I'm back to the football player. Right?
And they need to guard the tight end well. That is the best weapon Luck has right now.
Oh, look,
Dwayne Allen, the guy that Talib poked his eye last year, I mean, that is he is their best receiving target right now. And Denver, if they've had a little bit of a soft spot in their defense, sometimes it's losing tight end and coverage.
Right.
Yeah. Can we go to the Indianapolis Colts? Because a lot of people didn't see that game on Sunday unless you had Red Zone.
4 touchdowns for Luck, no picks. Tight ends were a huge part of that game for him. So what are the Colts' keys to victory?
Well, I have 500. Indianapolis 500 keys.
You have 500 keys?
Yeah, let me start.
All right, let me settle in here, buddy. It's going to be a while.
Can we get
Order
some coffee?
out, get some pizza. Let's go.
Well, let me hold it to a couple.
All right.
I think the most important thing, and this is not me saying this, guys. This is Andrew Luck. I went back and listened to his post-game comments, and he said, we're not going to win in this league unless we get off to better starts. So their key, if you will, is to get off to a better start.
Right.
You can't get behind in games. That's what was happening when they had to go to the second quarterback and the third quarterback. They can't lose quarterbacks. They lost 3 quarterbacks to injury last year. Why was that? Because their offensive line is so bad. They got 4 rookies. So we heard that from a sports director of a station, a sister station, I guess, in Indianapolis, saying,
WRTV.
"Oh, they did a better job." I didn't see much out of the offensive line that I saw, particularly in the first half of the game. So those guys have got to grow up in a hurry there, particularly at center and guard. And I think the third thing, I lied. The third thing is they're getting a couple of guys in the defensive backfield
Right.
back.
Darius Butler, Caitlin Gathers will be back. So they are going to be better in the defensive backfield. But their tackling was horrific in game 1. And they can't stop the run. So you would think that C.J. Anderson and Jano, Hammerhead, the Land Shark, whatever he is, would be able to open some holes and CJ to run through those holes, and he'd have a big game on the ground.
I'll go
this week.
inside the game real quickly for you. One thing to watch for fans, and Bronco fans are amazing the way they watch football. They're going to play way less zone. Last year against the Colts, they played zone defense, and Broncos are a man coverage team at their heart, and they played a lot of zone. Chris Harris told me today, don't look for us to play zone. We're going to get in their face. I'm interested to see how that works because that's what kept Indy in that game last year. A lot of big chunk plays we hadn't seen all year. Remember, when they went into that game, they were undefeated.
Yeah.
And the only reason the Broncos stayed in was a huge return by Bolden at half. But look for the defense. Quick key is they're going to play way more man.
All right. Well, it's time for my favorite part of the show.
I know mine.
I'm sure the fans love it too. It's called Woody's Rant. Did you make up that title yourself, Woody, or is that?
No, my
Woody's
mother did. Before, when I was 8 years old, she said, "That's enough of you rantings." And I said, "Mom, this is what I want to do when I grow up." And so,
And here you are.
yeah, I have two tonight.
All right.
I'm going to start with the lighter one first and the more serious one second. Mini Mile High Stadium. What in the world is that?
What a great place,
When
man.
they announced it, I thought, what are they doing? Well, the first thing they did was take away my parking spot and your parking spot.
That's why it's
put it
part
where-
of the rant.
No, it's not. I have gone there twice now already because I wanted to see what the fascination was. And it's nice, I guess, for nostalgic purposes. If you want to see an old scoreboard and you want to sit in a seat from the old Mile High Stadium. But I don't care about that. They could have taken that money and said, let's paint over Sports Authority Field everywhere and call it Mile High Stadium. That's my rant, is I don't care about Mile High Stadium, mini mile. I want the real Mile High Stadium on the big stadium. And
Yes.
if there are 18 people that wander by and go, oh, this is nice, sit in the chair, kid. No, this is the way it used to be. No, it's not. You'd have to get that guy from Austin Powers, Mini-Me, and have him greet people and go, oh, look how we are. So forget about that. You've got to join me in this campaign. We've got an opportunity here to change it back to what it should be. It's not Invesco. It's not Sports Authority Field anymore.
Mile High
I
Stadium.
watched a helicopter over it. It was showing Sports Authority Field. They put it on top of the stadium. No. Now I'm going to be serious. I'm totally serious about that, but the little stadium doesn't bother me, but they spent a lot of money for nothing. My other one, though, it goes back to Brandon Marshall.
Yep.
The emphasis should be on, I think, you brought it up the other night. I've been thinking about it, and I did stay up to 4 o'clock in the morning researching the national anthem. I want the Broncos to be creative. Let's don't have one guy kneeling. Guys, you've got to either join him or sit down with him and say, here's a better direction to go in. That let's do this. Whether it's linking arms, or whether it's holding hands, or whether it's saying, we're going to go out on our day off in the community and have roundtable discussions with the people in minority neighborhoods.
Right.
But I think you have to, as a team, if you're going to show unity, you don't leave a guy out on an island by himself. And Brandon needs to maybe take a leadership role and say, guys, come up with something where I can shift. We don't want to sit and watch the NFL every game and count how many guys are kneeling down, how many guys are saying, I'm against that. I don't know. Maybe the NFL should put another decal on that says solidarity or something like that. But that's what's most serious, I think, in the league right now. Too much emphasis on what's going on. And it started with Kaepernick. Maybe it ends with Kaepernick saying, I've done enough. Now let's move on to another direction with it.
I like it. All right. Let's wrap this show up, Orange First, with a quick prediction. Colts and Broncos at Mile High Stadium on Sunday. What do you got, Troy?
27-20 Broncos. They're going to have a little more offensive firepower. The Colts play their best games against the Broncos.
Yeah.
But, again, if you're not watching, Broncos are 29-4 in their last 33 home games. They're really good at home, Woody.
7-20.
I'm going with the same score I had last week, 30-20.
Oh, now you're going to jump on the bandwagon. You notice he had that ace
Well,
bandage
you didn't
on
hear,
his...
Yeah,
you
Colts
didn't
or
hear who I
Broncos?
said.
I know you're not picking the Colts to beat him. He has an ace bandage on his hamstring from jumping on this bandwagon.
I'm going to play the calliope. I am going to pull that onto the bandwagon. I'll be back to you.
See?
All right.
30-20 Broncos.
30-20 Broncos. I'm going 1 point win again for the second week in a row. 24-23 Broncos in this one. Close. Luck will get 3 touchdown passes. Oh, how do they get 23 points then? A safety?
It's going to be a safety block extra
I'm going
point.
24-21.
His name stands for
I totally
welcome.
changed my pick
Your
right
name
here.
stands for welcome. It certainly doesn't stand for mathematician.
24-21. Luck 3 touchdown passes, but the Broncos win it.
He changed his prediction in midstream.
Midstream. Well, I
Horses-
started
horses
adding
in
these things up,
midstream.
Woody, and it didn't make any sense. So
That's what I like about you, calling an audible. Calling an audible at
that's
the
right.
line. He's got the freedom.
Omaha. All right, guys. Look, that's it for this edition of Orange First. We look forward to the Colts and the Broncos. We'll be back next week to talk about that game and look ahead to the Bengals on the road. So until then,
Land
have a
shark.
great week. See you later.